play with it, but some geotagging is better than none. And you know what else that helps with? There's this thing called personalization. Oh boy, is this big. A great book you should read called The Filter Bubble by a guy named Eli Pariser. And it's all about how search engines and other sorts of services online are using personalization about how you individually interact with the web and social media and that sort of stuff, and how that is affecting what kind of information you get back, what's served up to you. A big thing that Google is already doing is serving up location-relevant search results in advertising. Do you want your stuff to get shown up in location-relevant search results? Oh, yes. So start putting geotags on your code. And the main thing is just latitude and longitude. Pick a point that's somehow relevant to the story and have that as a field, and make sure that also goes out on your RSS feed, because then that will allow any services that want to scrape or use that information, like Google or whatever, will be able to find it and use it that way. If you just build that into your system now, by the time it gets big, you're going to be popular because you're going to have more content. And let's see, anything else that's big? Oh, yeah, print is actually very useful to complement mobile. Flyers, stickers, pamphlets, newspaper ads. Buy a newspaper ad that explains how to use a QR code. Educate your audience. Even feature phones, a lot of them have barcode scanners as a built-in app on the feature phone, and people use them. Any barcode scanner can also read a QR code. The value of a QR code, do you guys know what QR codes are? Yeah, you all know, okay. The value of a QR code is, it is really hard to type on these things. Even on a good phone, it is hard to type. A QR code means you don't have to type. You just hold it up, and then it automatically takes you to the relevant web page. And so think about if you are trying to build awareness of your site in a certain part of town, you might want to start educating, maybe offering some free workshops about what QR codes are and how people can use them, find some examples of how they're being used in the neighborhood, and bring people in and talk to them so that they will know what to do when they see that. You know what you're doing when you do that education? You are creating a market for yourself, because people will be able to use this then to interact with you. And let's see. Oh, yeah, email, important. Email is one of the most popular things that people do on their phones, on all kinds of phones. And you make sure that that your default option for your email newsletter is not the fancy HTML format with all the nice graphics and everything, because that's like trying to display a full web page on a crappy little phone. Make sure the default version is the text version, and make sure the text version looks nice enough. And then make HTML an option. And offer that option in every newsletter that you send out. If you want to get the graphical version, click here and we'll send you the graphical version from now on. All the major email newsletter providers like Constant Contact, MailChimp, that sort of stuff, allow you to set it up that way. But if you are doing your own local mobile market research, if people are doing email on their phones, chances are, if you're sending out a weekly or monthly or whatever newsletter, a lot of people will be reading it on their phone. Their link's got to work. Yes?
Well, we send out daily emails, and don't we lose all of our potential ad revenue if we have HTML as the opt-in and text as the default?
No, not if you are getting a small text statement relevant to the ad rather than the banner for each time.
Will advertisers be just as happy with a little text statement as with a
If they're getting business in the door because of it, yeah. But I'll tell you what, if you, now again, mobile market research, if people are reading email a lot on their phones in your community, yes, you definitely want to be able to find a way to make your emails as friendly as possible to that environment. If it's not important to people in your neighborhood, don't worry about it.
I take it there's no way of having the newsletter show up in text version on phones automatically.
No, that's the difficulty. You don't really get that kind of theme switching ability. Email may evolve that way. That's a very good point. It may evolve that way. I've heard some things that indicate it could, but right now you can't. So the text only, and here's the thing, experiment with it. Try it with some ads that are text and some ads that are banners and see what you get, a higher click-through rate on from the newsletters. You know, I mean, that's the thing. If you don't know the answer, devise and conduct an experiment. You know, because you won't know the answer in advance until you try it. And usually until you try it 2 or 3 times. Okay, what time are we at here? Okay, we got a few more minutes. All right, and I hope this is useful. Mobile is a confusing landscape, and as the point that Jay brought up, yeah, welcome to the third world. We're it when it comes to mobile. I have friends in Indonesia, in India, a lot of parts of the world, and I get so mad when I hear what they can do with their phones that I can't. But you know, there are things that we can learn from them, and that site, Mobile Active, is a good place to learn what's going on with that. But remember, these are very emotionally significant devices, and how you treat them has to be very culturally sensitive. And not just culturally sensitive to your geographic region, but to subcultures within your region. You know, for instance, you might decide that there's a really great community to find out about church-related events in your area. You want to be very careful about the language you use if you set up a special SMS service for sending out church-related alerts. Church people are great, and they're also very easily offended in a lot of ways. So anytime you're doing a special service to mobile, you want to really talk to people from the target community and make sure that they would be okay with it before you roll it out widely. If you piss people off on mobile, they will not forget. Anything else? What else do you want to know? Yeah?
What's a good example of something that would... That was weird. What's a good example of something that you'd like to, or that should be something that's broadcasted with mobile? What's a great content example?
Great content example. If you have something that is going to be of direct significance to a lot of people's lives, or potential significance to a lot of people's lives. For instance, we don't currently have an SMS-related service for Oakland Local, and that's because of cost reasons. Like I said, I want to find the best way to scale it up. But we recently did a story where in Oakland, if you want to fix your sidewalk, you got to pay like $600 to the city to get a permit to do it. And a bunch of people in this one neighborhood figured out that, oh, we can all team up and get one permit to fix all the sidewalks on our block. And they got the sidewalks fixed, and it saved them all a bunch of money to do it. That could be a great like community how-to. You know, because we got tremendous web traffic on that, and because people shared that all over the place. When you see people sharing something a lot, that's a good clue that it might make a good text message, because people forward text messages a lot.
Not necessarily text messaging.
Yeah.
Stuff that would be best on this kind of a platform.
Yeah.
Oh, you would put this on, you would make that as a mobile story?
Yeah, like if we had an SMS service that would be like, you know, like how to hack your community, you know, that kind of stuff. And it would be tips, because tips work really well by SMS. You know, some of the most popular SMS services are public health related tips. You know, tips about, health and nutrition, diabetes care, all that sort of stuff. If you want to learn a lot about mobile, aside from looking at Major League Baseball, which does everything right with mobile, look at a field called mHealth, mobile health, and start seeing what kinds of apps and services your state or county public health department probably is doing a lot of SMS-related services. It is really hot in the public health sphere. Oh. There we go.
How's your phone?
Yeah, I have an Android phone, by the way. So those kinds of tips, also anything that's related to big upcoming events. You know, especially if traffic is a huge issue in your area. If there's an event coming up where people might need to plan about it for traffic-related alerts, you know, especially if it's upcoming, here's what you need to know about tomorrow's commute. As long as it's just opt-in, you know, that's something that people value. So think about what's going to be useful to people on the go. And you might end up creating some different kinds of content than what you would normally come up with. But you know, if you see some options with some SMS-related services that are gaining traction, if you can think of some content to support something similar and do that, you know, you might be, because you might be able to, if you were thinking abstractly, yeah, maybe we might do something about covering diabetes in our community. And then you realize that your state health department is actually about to start a PSA campaign for diabetes health. And gee, they have all this money available for it. Why don't you say, hey, why can't we be your partner in that campaign? And it's basically like selling a sponsorship rather than a regular advertising package, and offer out some very localized about the messages they wanted to put out in their campaign, and do it that way. Oh, another thing you can look at for great examples of what's going on in mobile is political campaigns. We got election season coming up. You better believe political people are all over mobile. It was a huge factor in the 2008 elections, and it's only grown since then. I mean, anything where people are putting stuff out on cell phones, anything from apps to QR codes to text messaging to email to mobile websites, you name it, you look at that and see how people are using it and what makes it usable or not. Think creatively about different kinds of content. Think about how you can position it as a service. And if you do advertising in your SMS messages, make sure people are going to a mobile-friendly formatted page. I don't know how many times I've taken a QR code, and taken a photo, and it sent me to a page that's a fully formatted page. It's like, what's the point, of putting that on a QR code? Anyway, I know this is all over the map. I'm going to be around here tonight and tomorrow morning if you have more specific questions. Hopefully I can help you with that. But the thing is, all your audience is increasingly going to be mobile. You got to figure it out. And if you start experimenting now, it'll get better. Okay, cool.